For the past few years, the media has started to sound more and more like you. Started to sound more like this show and this audience. First, the media told us that the economic situation in Europe wasn't as bad as the pessimists said. Then, it is bad, but it's still blown out of proportion. Then, they admitted that it was truly catastrophic, but don't worry, because Germany is there. The rest of Europe will bail Greece out, and Spain, and everything is going to be fine. Then, Germany bailed them out, but the trouble still continued. Then, we were told another bailout is coming, and this time the United States needs to be involved. And the bailouts have come, one right after another, and the situation keeps degrading and degrading. Now, the media, with no other option, is forced to admit that this is an economic catastrophe on the horizon in Europe. And now they even have to admit the results that we predicted, that violence, rioting, and political extremism are now the norm in Greece. Remember, close to 1/5 of the Greece government, 1/5, is now communist or Nazi. Good for the Greeks. The idea that this could even happen has been mocked by nearly everyone on earth, with the exception of you and the rest of this audience. And now, it's here. It's like, I feel like we're a bunch of Kenyan runners in the Boston Marathon. You know, we won the race, and then we're gathered around the finish line, cheering on the guy on crutches who's finishing in last place. We're like, come on, media, you can do it, keep running. The media has endured such unending and embarrassing string of failures. When it comes to the global economy, they are stuck with the only option or only weapon left in their arsenal. They will continually now say that the Greek meltdown, which is threatening to take down all of Europe and the rest of the world in its wake, is the result of the economic collapse due to the austerity programs that came out after. Watch.
Mitt Romney is saying basically that spending cuts are how we're going to get to prosperity. Mitt Romney is saying, see what's happening in Greece and in Portugal and in Spain and in Ireland? Let's do that here.
Okay, this is really dangerous, and you have to be up on the situation in Greece, because this is a lie, but this is a lie that will work to the socialists' agenda. And unfortunately, it will also work for the National Socialists. In their own words, they're saying, yeah, we were wrong about how this whole thing could turn out, but we were sure right about the cause. We promise. Scout's honor. The media's cause of the economic collapse are always generic capitalist boogeyman. The banks, the mortgage companies, investors, those speculators, the greedy CEOs. What's amazing is how little blame the actual government gets for a government default. Let me show you a chart here. It shows how much France, Italy, and the UK, and Spain, and Greece have spent each year since 2002. You pull into that tight, to actually take it full screen, Sarah. There it is. All right. Look at this. See how it's going up? Since 2002, the financial crisis hit in 2008. Ah, look at there. They're all still spending more. Still spending more than pre-crisis levels. France and the UK haven't cut at all. Greece and Spain have cut, but hardly at all. Greece only cut $10 billion. Italy briefly made small cuts and then started spending more again in 2011. Anytime there has been a cut made, massive tax increases were also put in place. It is the wrong formula. Now, I want to ask you to get in your magic pants here for a second. This is going to take all kinds of magic for you to imagine this world. But imagine a world where the media actually did its job and told you what really was happening in Greece. For example, imagine the opinion you might have about what is happening in Greece and how to solve it if somebody in the media actually told you the truth about the country that Greece has become. A country that was completely built on a foundation of government giveaways. Now, this is according to author Michael Lewis. He's not a right-wing guy. He described Greece once as, quote, once Greece realized, quote, that they were alone in the dark with a pile of borrowed money, they turned their government into a piñata stuffed with fantastic sums and gave as many citizens as possible a whack at it. In just the preceding 12 years, the payroll of the Greek government to public sector workers has doubled. How's our doing? The average government job in Greece paid 3 times what the average private sector job paid. The Greek version of Amtrak takes in 100 million euros every year. Well, that sounds pretty good until you find out that it spends 7 times that amount. The railroad in Greece is so inefficient that the Minister of Finance estimated it would be cheaper to put all of the passengers in the train into cabs. And that estimate was made 20 years ago, before things really got bad. How about schools? The Greek education system employs 4 times as many teachers as Finland, yet it still finds itself among the lowest rated school systems on the continent. Greek citizens might have had more money to pay their personal debts, but since the schools are so bad, most of them are forced to hire private tutors so their kids can actually read. This is a country run by every horrible union thug you've ever seen on MSNBC. If you have a job that is classified as arduous, you can retire at the age of 55 for a man and 50 for a woman. Well, that's good. I mean, if you're in the coal mine, well, that's a kind of a sweet perk, isn't it? But of course, with all things socialist, it is the definition of words that matters. The definition of arduous. You see, that's not limited to coal miners and things like that. In fact, I would be able to retire with full government benefits in less than 7 years. You see, radio announcers have an arduous career. That's an arduous job in Greece. So is a waiter, a musician, and yes, a hairdresser. To keep the unemployed busy, Greece also launched a stimulus program. Theirs are about as bright as ours. $7 billion of taxpayer money. It was supposed to go to the Ministry of Agriculture for such important jobs as digitizing photographs of Greek public lands. Of course, the government didn't hire anybody who knew anything about photography, so instead of $7 billion, the real cost was over $30 billion. Let me ask you something. You heard the President of the United States say this weekend that Germany has got to continue to bail these guys out. Would you do it? Much like the occupiers, the protesters over in Greece have shut down air traffic control and airports. They have shut down cruise ports, tourism centers. And if the occupiers over there strike, you better go along with them. If you don't skip work in solidarity, you become the target. It has gotten so ridiculous that when the Greek government wanted to buy itself votes by upping salaries again for private sector workers, it was, look this up, this is true, it was forced to actually pay them for months that don't exist. They got their monthly salary, instead of 12 months, they got 14 months. I don't know what calendar they're using. These are the sorts of stories that the media never tells you about Greece, because it totally changes the truth, totally makes you look at it a different way. The truth is, there will always be ups and downs in economies. But when you are set up like Greece, and increasingly the way the United States is going, you can never weather the storms when things get rough. If a man is willing to walk out of his office on the 40th floor and squat down and hang by the ledge of his building using just his pinky, you certainly can't blame the wind for his inevitable plunge and death.